Our second reading is taken from Evangelii Gaudium, the Joy of the Gospel, by Pope Francis. The homily. The liturgical context, Article 137. It is worthy remembering that the liturgical proclamation of the Word of God, especially in the Eucharistic assembly, is not so much a time for meditation and catechesis as a dialogue between God and His people, a dialogue in which the great deeds of salvation are proclaimed and the demands of the covenant are continually restated. The homily has special importance due to its Eucharistic context. It surpasses all forms of catechesis as the supreme moment in the dialogue between God and His people, which lead up to sacramental communion. The homily takes up once more the dialogue which the Lord has already established with His people. The preacher must know the heart of his community in order to realize where it is desire for God is alive and ardent, when its desire for God is alive and ardent, as well as where that dialogue, once loving, has been thwarted and is now barren. The homily cannot be a form of entertainment like those presented by the media, yet it does need to give life and meaning to the celebration. It is a distinctive genre, since it is preaching which is situated within the framework of a liturgical celebration. Hence it should be brief and avoid taking on the semblance of a speech or a lecture. A preacher may be able to hold the attention of his listeners for a whole hour, but in this case, his words become more important than the celebration of faith. If the homily goes on too long, it will affect two characteristic elements of the liturgical celebration, its balance and its rhythm. When preaching takes place within the context of the liturgy, it is part of the offering made to the Father and a meditation of the grace which Christ pours out during the celebration. This context demands that preaching should guide the assembly. This context demands that preaching should guide the assembly and the preacher to a life-changing communion with Christ in the Eucharist. This means that the words of the preacher must be measured so that the Lord, more than his minister, will be the center of attention. Here ends our second reading.